Welcome to Perspectives in Focus. My name is Rona Harper. I'm here with my guest today, Joe Hamilton, who wrote the book For the Love of Scott. And Joe is back with us again to tell us a little bit more and get to more detail about the book and how we can work with it. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You wrote this book, For the Love of Scott. Can you tell us just a little bit about it and the reason why you wrote the book?
I wrote the book For the Love of Scott. The title actually came from a shriek that my mother made at the hospital once they told us what they'd done to him. And she just sort of shrieked out, "Oh, for the love of Scott, how could this have happened?" And it kind of just stayed in my head. I didn't really know why. But then when I was thinking I need a title for this book, it came back into my head, and I thought that's the title. So. And it's basically about a promise that I made to my little brother, Scott Hamilton, when he was dying in the hospital. It was one of the last things he ever said to me was, "Please tell people what they've done to me. You have to tell them what they've done." And so it's his story from birth to his death.
And how long ago did he die?
He died on December 30th in 1983.
Wow. So during the time frame from when he died to when you just wrote the book, why did it take you so much time, and do you think it's still relevant right now?
That's a great question. I actually attempted to write Scott's story several times over the years. I wanted to keep my promise, and I felt like, I wanted to do it for my parents as well. And I thought it'd be cathartic for me. I thought it would help me maybe heal from this, from the whole tragedy. And I would try. I started probably 6 months after he died. I started the first I sat down started the first transcript, and I think I wrote about 10 pages, and then I just could not do any more. And then maybe a couple years later, I tried again, and I've actually found, I think, 4 or 5 different notebooks that I'd actually started writing the story on when I sat down this time to write it. And I began this on Christmas Eve. I got a new laptop for Christmas, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm kind of out of excuses now. I'm going to have to really do this. So I came home, we had his funeral.
Wow.
So my mom was trying to fill in some blanks for some people, and this nurse told me recently that conversation that she overheard between my mom and another friend of my mom's, she said, "I guarantee you it's the one thing as a student nurse that had the most impact on me." She said, being a freshman, in my freshman year, she said there wasn't a shot that I gave, an IV that I hung, a medication that I put on somebody that I didn't think of your brother Scott. And she was the same age as my brother Scott. She said it made me a better nurse for the past 27 years. She said it's made me a better nurse because of that. And I thought, wow, he must have known somewhere in his unconscious level that he would have such a positive impact, his story would have. So, my hope is that people continue to share his story, because it's an awareness we don't have. Right. Once you read his story, it changes you forever. You'll never look at a doctor or a healthcare facility the same way. I heard a doctor the other day being interviewed, and somebody said, "Well, what do you think we could do to stay safe?" This is a doctor. He said, "Don't go to a doctor. Don't go to a hospital. That's the only way that you can guarantee you won't be harmed by one of them." That's a pretty powerful statement.
So then what are we supposed to do?
Well, so the alternative to that is we educate ourselves, and you trust your instincts.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. My parents and Scott, they trusted their instincts, and they tried and pleaded and begged with the healthcare people to pay attention, and they were just ignored. And it cost my brother his life.
We do have to remember that even though they might have a God complex, doctors and administrators, that they are not.
No.
And we do have to listen to our instincts and trust ourselves. And it's okay to question, and we have to know that it's okay to question and make them take the time to explain in plain and simple English what's going on, what are you doing, why are you doing it? And that's
correct. You know, there's a video I just viewed yesterday that actually, his name is Dr. Goldman. He's doing lectures now on why aren't doctors talking about their mistakes? Why? Why aren't we? Why are we pretending that they're not happening? And his philosophy is, if we share our stories, we can all benefit from this. It will help all of us be better doctors. And so I'm thinking, oh, what a novel idea.
Because it's not about blame.
It's
isn't.
It's
about fixing the problem.
It's about taking care and doing the right thing. Do no harm. It's what the oath that they take is do no harm. Wouldn't you want to know how to do that better? Because we can't change the fact that we're human.
Right.
None of us can change that. And because we're human, we're not fallible and we're going to make mistakes. So what are the things we can do to help minimize those mistakes? And the documentary for Chasing Zero, that's the whole thing. Chasing Zero is to make zero mistakes. And the doctors that are involved in this program believe that that's an attainable goal. It absolutely is.
I hope so. I hope so.
You have to believe. Yep.
Yes.
You have to believe.
We're all human. Can we talk about the book a little bit? Just
sure.
How did you come by the cover? What is the story behind the cover?
Okay, the story behind the cover for The Love of Scott is, again, based on Iowa. My sister-in-law, Maggie Hamilton, she does professional photography as another love of hers. And I was thinking, because we had sort of this baseball theme going throughout the book, and Scott loved baseball, my dad loved baseball, all of my brothers played baseball. And they filmed a movie that some people, maybe you've heard of, called Field of Dreams.
Yes.
And it was about baseball, and it was filmed in Iowa, and that field is still there. So my thought was, well, we need a cornfield, and we need a barn, because, you know, people know that barns are in Iowa. So, and then I decided to take images of Scott at every decade in his life. Like the first one is at 3, and we made that more vivid because he was very much alive then. And then at 13, we started fading him out. And then at 20, 21, he's almost vapor, because as he got older, he got closer to death. And so that was the whole concept that we used. And then I had a very good friend who has a printing shop. I told her the concept, and her and a design artist put it together, and that's how we came up with it. But even the sky, the blue sky is an Iowa sky. Can't you tell?
It's beautiful.
It's heaven.
It's beautiful. Well, I understand that you have Hollywood has come knocking at your door a little bit.
Well,
yes.
Well, a little bit. They're tapping their toe. That's to say, yeah. Yeah, the publisher actually knew a producer in Florida who, I guess, frequents her store, and she has a friendly relationship with him, and she mentioned the book. And the first thing that has to happen, and actually less than 1% of books ever become movies, so the odds are not great. I just heard the other day that the film The Help, it took like 12 years to be published, and then another half a dozen years to get filmed. But the first thing that has to happen is a book has to be transcribed into a screenplay, or otherwise no director, no agents, no stars, no movie stars will even look at it, because they're not going to read a book. So this producer lent Scott's book to a screenwriter who read it and told him that he thought it would be doable as a TV movie or a feature film movie. He didn't say he'd write it, sadly. So we're in the process now. This producer actually he's a wonderful guy. He spent over 2 hours on the phone with me just telling me this is the way it goes, and this is how it happens, and here's what you need to do if you're really thinking about this, and what do you want to accomplish from Scott's message. And so now we're in the process, and I've put this out, again, praying that something will happen, that, we need a screenwriter. So that's where we are. We're kind of just waiting to see what happens.
If you do get that screenwriter, is there anybody in particular you'd like to see, actors that you'd like to see play the roles?
You know, I have thought about that. I can't lie. I would like Dennis Quaid to be a participant, because I think he's already got a passion for this story. He's lived kind of the same thing, and I think he would be great as my dad or somebody. But I don't know. My wish would be that whoever connected with the story and resonated with it and felt like it was an emotional and an important message, that they would want to do it. So whoever that is, I'm open to whoever it is.
Tell me some positive things that have happened from this tragedy. What have you?
Well, for my family, I think there's been some closure and some additional healing. I think that's been positive. For myself, I can honestly say that there has been. For me, it's expanded my breadth of compassion in people. I mean, today you hear so many negative things, and you sort of lose hope sometime about, you know, people and the way things are going. But I just can't tell you the number of people that I've heard from that are just wonderful, outreaching, supportive. I think the people that have read Scott's story have been impacted in a positive way. It's changed how they look at a doctor, will go to a doctor or a hospital. Hopefully it'll help save lives. And it's kept his memory alive, you know. It's like he's, every time somebody shares a story about him, and I've heard so many that I didn't even know about or talk about him, they remember him, and that's a gift to our family and to me.
I'm sure this story will help a lot of people who are faced with a situation similar to yours, or with family members who are facing the same situation. It's great that you actually put your hurt and shared it. Okay. I know you can't bring him back. Okay. But if you're granted one wish, what would you wish that the hospital who was responsible for this, what do you wish that they would do? Or what could they give you? Or
that's an interesting question, because initially they told us that the pharmacist that had accidentally overdosed Scott had left the hospital. In fact, they told us that he'd committed suicide, which was a horrible thing to hear. But we found out later from a friend of ours who was at the hospital that the pharmacist was in fact still working there. So that really didn't happen. And they also told us that they'd come up with this fail-safe protocol so that it would never happen again. I'm not sure what that was. We were never told what that was. But I do know that they have now automated systems. The scary thing about that is it's still fallible. There's still ways that it can be overridden. If it comes up and says, this is a lethal dose, do you want to proceed? Do you want to proceed? This is a lethal dose. You still have an option of clicking yes and dumping that lethal dose into a bag of IV that could kill somebody. So, you know, we still have a long way to go, but it's a work in progress, and we're getting there. It's getting better and better. And I think with all the watchdog groups now and all the eyes that we have out there, and social networking, the internet, all the things that you can use for good, I think that we have to believe that there's change coming. I really do believe that, for the better.
so are you viral right now in the web and maybe YouTube or something like that?
Well, I don't know about viral. There is a video of Scott's on YouTube, For the Love of Scott. If you Google it, it'll take you to YouTube, and you can see a video. It's sort of a montage of his life in photos, and then the song that's on there is called Iowa. It's sung by a woman named Dar Williams. But yeah, if you Google him, it comes up. He's in the Google search engine, so certainly that's one way to go.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It really was a pleasure meeting you.
It's nice to meet you too, and thank you for having me.
Okay. And again, I hope that you'll come back and continue to share your story. And where can they find your book?
The book can be purchased through Olmstead, Olmstad Publishing.com or Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble's website.
Great. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right.